Hey guys, Richard Cooper here, Total Debt Freedom. I'm going to do this video today. I'm doing a screen record for you because there's an article that one of our customers forwarded to me, and I want to go through some of the points of the article. So I'm going to minimize my big head out of the way here and show you what I'm looking at. This is a publication called Maclean's. If you live in Canada, you're familiar with it. And the title of this one is How Canadian Homes Become Debt Traps. When you go through these articles, after a while, when you've been doing this as long as I have, we set up TDF around early 2000s, 2003-ish or so. You start to see a regular pattern of the way these stories are told to the public. And there's a few things that are consistent, and there's always things that are inconsistent. But the consistent thing that usually happens, let me just maximize this again, but the consistent thing that usually happens when people get in debt is there's a pattern that reemerges over and over again. So there's two things I want to talk about in this video. One, the origin of debt and how people get into debt. And two, the storytelling that the media tells you, which is quite often a little distorted. It's November 2017 by now. We've all heard stories about how the media likes to distort stories and kind of twist them and turn them and tell them and package them in a way that they think audience will like them. Anyway, let's hop into this one. Article is by Joe Castaldo. Never heard of him, but title is How Canadian Homes Become Debt Traps. What you can do is you can take a look through the early section here, and they're talking about this, avatar, this customer called Anne, this Canadian, that bought a one-bedroom condo in Vancouver, gainfully employed, printing company, and she did what she thought everybody should be doing, which right here says everyone was doing something. She bought this condo, kitchen came next after renovating a bathroom, then the living room, then the bedroom. She's doing the whole, let's keep up with the Joneses routine, which is not necessarily the best strategy when it comes to home ownership and money spending. I always preach to people a minimalist approach to spending money. If you don't need it, don't blow money on it. Just because, 3 of the 300 occupants in your building are renovating their suite does not necessarily mean that you need a new bathroom, kitchen, flooring, fill in the blanks. So that's usually the first thing that is consistent right there again. Everybody is doing something. They're always trying to keep up with the Joneses and show off, what it is that they got. And a sure sign of problems for people, again, consistently, because we've been doing this for a long time, we've helped thousands of Canadians get debt free now, is something happens that changes the pattern of their capacity to pay down the debt. And it's not always within their control, but what you can control is your spending and your approach to money. And if you understand, debt is really nothing more than a simple math equation. It's income minus your expenses will leave you with either a plus or a minus at the end of the month. Just minimize this back again. So that's the first thing. We've just talked about the origin. Now the second part that I want to hit on is when this woman went to go seek help. Of course, it mentions here in the article, soon one of her banks began calling with a solution to manage her debt. Your banks and credit card companies will often call you with solutions like a credit counseling solution, which is never a good approach. You can browse the rest of the YouTube channel. There's lots of content on why credit counseling doesn't work very well. But I'm going to go down here to when they start talking about the options that an insolvency trustee offers, which is right here. Let me show you the line. So early this year, Anne's trustee filed what's called a consumer proposal. Okay, and it says over here right after that, it's less severe than a personal bankruptcy. Okay, and they go on to say a proposal is an offer to all individuals creditor to pay a portion of the debt under a strict plan over 5 years. So the problem that I have with that, because this is a recurring story that keeps coming up over and over again, and I'll tell you right now, it's not true. From our experience, from what we've learned, and what we've seen is consumer proposals will always run for 5 years. So a bankruptcy, if you're first time bankrupt, you can be discharged. I think it's about 14 months or so. And the cost to go bankrupt when you're insolvent is not going to be that high because you're going to owe a lot more than what you own. So frequently here in our office, if somebody comes in and they have a considerable amount of debt and not much in the way of assets, usually a bankruptcy is the best way to go. But the problem with that, though, is that trustees have this habit of selling what's called a consumer proposal. It's a formal proposal to your creditors under the Bankruptcy Insolvencies Act that runs for 5 years, not like, a year and a tiny bit, like a bankruptcy does. So the thing that you've got to consider with that is it doesn't have a positive impact on your credit until you get out of debt, meaning all of the credit cards have been paid off, which happens at the end of the 5-year cycle. So the biggest difference with that is it actually takes you 5 years before you can fix your credit, not a year and a bit, like a bankruptcy. Our approach to getting rid of debt is kind of similar to a consumer proposal, but it's an informal approach. And the way we structure it is it's one debt settled up, money saved up, lump sum's done, it's settled. Then we repeat the process and it's settled. So over time, your credit score starts to go up. The problem that I have with the proposal is it doesn't go up until you've completely resolved all the debt, which is at the end of the 5 years. So the notion that they're selling here, let me minimize this, that it is a less severe option than a personal bankruptcy is simply not true. The other problem that they don't usually speak about in these articles, I haven't seen it ever mentioned actually, to be honest with you, is that a trustee gets paid differently on a proposal than what they do on a bankruptcy. The bankruptcy only lasts for a short period of time. Business owners are motivated to create what's called subscription-based revenue, meaning it's recurring revenue. It happens over a longer period of time. So if you come in as a customer and you're then hiring the bankruptcy proposal administrator, they have an option of basically offering you two services, both of which have the same effect on your credit score, does a lot of damage, both of which do the same thing to get you out of debt. The only difference is one takes about a year and a half, the other one takes like way longer, it takes 5 years. So they have two options here. Now, the difference between the two options with the bankruptcy and the consumer proposal is the proposal gets paid as 20% of every payment that goes to the creditor. So they do what they can when they take a look at your debt load, your assets, your liabilities, your income, your expenses, to go through every single item line by line and find what they can. And they're actually obligated to do so because they have a fiduciary responsibility to the credit card company. So even though you as a customer would pay them to get out of debt, they have an obligation to serve the banks and credit card companies, the very people that you owe, to get as much back as possible. And they're paid 20% of every single payment that you make them monthly. So you can rest assured that they're going to find every single line they possibly can because, one, they're obligated to do it to protect the interests of the banks and credit card companies because that's who their obligations are to. They're court-appointed agents to the people that you owe, not to you. So don't think for a minute that they're working for you. And secondly, they get paid 20% of every single payment that goes to them. They don't get paid based on what they save you as far as what you owe. They get paid on how much money goes to the credit card companies. So this notion here that it's a less severe form of bankruptcy, that's usually what they'll try to sell you. They'll try to sell you the notion that it's a softer, kinder, friendly approach to eliminating your debt, and it's simply not true. So I wanted to clear up those two things. Again, the first is be mindful of your spending. You can manage it, okay? Stories like this are very, very common. Stories where people talk about everybody was just doing it, so I kind of went along, with the rest of the sheep. Well, you have the option in life to make choices when you get up in the morning, and you can choose to go and blow money on dumb things, or you can choose not to. Just because a few of your neighbors are doing renos and fixing, bathrooms and kitchens and, the blah, blah, blah narrative, you can choose not to do that and live happily with what you have. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is be very, very mindful of what you read in the media when it comes to references on what insolvency trustees do, what credit counsels do especially. I'm not opposed to what insolvency trustees do. I think that the bankruptcy process is great and it works. I don't like that they're motivated to sell more consumer proposals because of the cost-benefit analysis of them making more money over their customer over 5 years versus a year and change. And quite often they'll sell it as it's an alternative to bankruptcy. But the truth of the matter is, because it takes 5 years to get out of debt and you're in that process, you're locked in for that long period of time, you don't see an improvement in your credit score until the 5 years is up. So be mindful of those two things. Give the like button a big hard smash. That's my thumb saying smash it. Leave me a comment below if you got a request for video or you have some feedback on this particular topic. Again, if you have a video topic suggestion, let me know what it is you'd like me to record it on. And if somebody needs to see this, share the video. Thanks for checking out. Have an amazing day.
Hey guys, I want to thank you for watching the video right through to the end. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment below if you have a special request for a video for me to do on a topic in the future. Also, if there's somebody that needs to see this, please share it with them so they can get the information. Over on this shoulder over here, you're going to find a recommended video that's probably relevant to what you just watched right now, so it's worth checking out. And that one is the subscribe button, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for checking out the video. Have an amazing day. Bye for now.